Everything you need to know about products and services that can improve your life. This is Experts on Call on CL 650.
And welcome back to our final section on QuayPacificStrataLife on CL 650. I'm Tony Giavento, your host. Dan O'Hearn from QuayPacific Management is with us in the studio. We're going to talk about, finally, with respects to insurance and claims and long-term service, the role of the strata manager and how they provide valuable service for your strata corporation when, and as they're developing. So, Dan, what's a really great role that the manager plays with their clients as you're providing them service and support?
Well, as I was listening to this interesting show, I thought our role is actually to make sure you're avoiding claims.
Yeah.
And I know Adrian doesn't have any issues with dealing with claims, and insurance companies they're happy to sell insurance. And I think as much as they always do pay out, I think they'd be happier if there was no payments going out. So I think the important role here is to help the corporations to avoid the claims, and that's a proper maintenance program. And I'd really encourage corporations to adopt something within their bylaws that really compels them or requires them to maintain a certain way. And I think the disclosure statement, the depreciation reports are going to help create better maintenance programs. But the bylaws is a document which everyone should be referring to and looking at on a regular basis and being reviewed. And in there, we can incorporate certain obligations that compel perhaps the corporation to take on responsibilities. One thing would be these hot water tanks that are within townhouses, and it seems more often than not they're sitting on drain pans that don't go anywhere or empty out into a wall. I think even though that's a responsibility of the homeowner in most cases, I think the corporation could take that on. And most homeowners are buying into condominiums for easy, carefree living, and they're not thinking about all the stuff that they're supposed to be maintaining.
A lot of strata corporations, the bylaws in general allow for inspection and maintenance of strata lots.
Yes.
How many buildings do you think actually do annual inspections of things like water systems and heating systems in strata lots on an annual basis?
Seldom.
Yeah, it's hard to be proactive and think about long-term maintenance if you're actually not incorporating routine inspections into the cycle, isn't it?
Yep. So again, the depreciation reports I think gives a really strong template for people to look at, and it would be important that the councils get together with their management companies and get inside some of these buildings or some of these units and look at it. Things like drains on balconies.
Right.
Often aren't maintained. Put into a maintenance program that the window cleaners or the gutter cleaners, part of their scope of work is also to clean those out and inspect them and to notify us of any problems, because the homeowners don't.
Well, and internal drainage of building systems are, we end up with sewer backup in buildings, in high-rise buildings, mid-rise buildings. Frequently, it's because for 10, 15, 20, or 30 years, no one has flushed or cleaned the drains in the building systems.
Exactly. And if you look at manufacturers' recommendations or association recommendations, the frequency of cleaning is far greater than what we ever do.
Right.
And normally when people look at the horizontal drains and to clean those in the parkade area, it's usually when somebody on the first floor has experienced sewage backing up through the kitchen sink. You're years late on that cleaning job. So we certainly know certain buildings are prone to that, and those ones are often on a regular schedule for cleaning every few years because they've had experiences in the past. But there's nothing wrong starting a routine in a brand new building for maintaining and cleaning these things.
Do you see much of an incremental cost in this is a homeowner perspective,
Sure.
but is there much of an incremental cost in strata fees for the strata to actually look at their budget and have a fairly prudent maintenance program?
I think I hate to say it, there are some things that aren't worth maintaining.
Right.
and we've certainly experienced that. You're better off in some cases to put in a new makeup air unit than to spend money maintaining it. But the thing is, during that time that you're not maintaining it, you're experiencing breakdowns at inopportune times. You're experiencing issues that come up that just make it unpleasant to experience. So there is a cost associated with maintenance. But what do you value your time when there's a breakdown that happens at the most inopportune time? Costs money to maintain a garage door, and you probably wouldn't care about that cost if you're ever stuck behind the gate and you can't get out and you have an airplane that's leaving in an hour and you're trying to get to the airport, right? You would have said, I'd happily pay the extra 50 cents a month to make sure that this experience didn't happen. So that's the value of maintaining it. And you can look at every component and see if it's worth it or not.
Well, and some are more obvious.
Right.
Building plumbing systems, for example. By the time the system starts leaking, it's no longer a maintenance issue now. It's a replacement issue. And the cost of multiple claims on your insurance policy every year with rising deductibles far outweigh the benefits that you get from not doing that work.
Sure. One major drain backup where 2 or 3 units are affected by black water coming out their sink, that cost is greater than just simply have cleaning the drains every few years.
In the building system alone. Yep. Well, and that's one of the things I think that we find really hard to see. I often look at annual budgets that and annual reports that go out to strata corporations, and one of the things that I never see is a maintenance schedule with some value around it for the owners to understand. I think owners in buildings, as you said perfectly earlier on, people go into to live in a strata because they don't want to deal with the drains and do the roofing and the gutters and the grass and all that stuff. But I think it also forces them, as a result of that, to forget about the day-to-day maintenance that they need to do. It's incredibly helpful, and I've certainly seen it where the strata manager, when we're doing annual reports and notices, works with the strata council, and they provide an annual report on the checklist of here's all the work this building needs to be done this year. And so what are we going to do, right? The owners have a better awareness around that perspective.
Yeah, within the industry, it's our role to try to educate people to do that sort of thing, and you know, you have varying degrees of effort that's put into it. At the very least, in the operating budget during your repairs and maintenance, it should be a very elaborate explanation of what is intended to be done that year, right? And then people can see what's not being done. They can also have expectations of what's going to be completed. So that's the very least would be in the operating budget. But I think adopting a maintenance plan, which very simplistic to help in the budget. So a simple maintenance plan might be every 3rd year you're doing the horizontal drains, right? Every 10th year they're replacing the hot water tanks. Annually, all the balcony drains are being cleared out, and this is all incorporated into a maintenance routine. That's going to help you in your annual budget as well.
So your message is pretty clear. Strata corporations, if you're going to manage your risks, you're going to minimize your claims, you're going to minimize your calls, you're going to minimize your costs, development and maintenance programs.
Absolutely. And you know, this whole segment today was talking about insurance too, and you know, we've had a number of insurance claims, and I'm surprised how few people actually have homeowners insurance.
Right.
It's frightening. You probably see that more often than us.
I'm bewildered at a large claim that happened earlier this year that less than 50% of the building had homeowner insurance.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say between 20 and 50% of the people have coverage. It's going to depend on the demographics of that building. Generally speaking, the less affluent, then the more likely that they don't have insurance, right? And I know people will struggle at the thought of spending several hundreds of dollars, but you know, when you go through a claim and you're frustrated, you're living out of home for weeks, okay, 6 months sometimes, right? Who's going to cover that cost? And you got to have your coverage, and everyone's always reluctant to make a claim on insurance. They take it personally. Let's accept insurance is just like a way of doing business. It's it's something that's required.
It's protecting your investment, and it's protecting the quality of your life. Dan, thanks so much.
Yes.
Appreciate you being on the show. If you have any emails and you'd like some help with your strata, please send them to questions@strata.life, questions@strata.life. You've been listening to QuayPacificStrataLife on CIL 650. I'm Tony Giovento, your Executive Director of the Condominium Homeowners Association. Thanks so much for listening.